The Galactic Academy was a marvel of interstellar architecture, a floating beacon of cooperation among dozens of intelligent species. Its spires, made of iridescent alloy, twisted toward the stars like delicate sculptures, housing laboratories, training halls, and residential quarters. For centuries, the Academy had served as a symbol of unity and progress, a place where the brightest minds from across the galaxy could learn, innovate, and foster mutual understanding. Yet, for all its advancements, it had never quite encountered a species like humans. Humanity's arrival at the Academy had been a source of curiosity and controversy. Known as Deathworlders due to the harsh conditions of their home planet, humans were both admired and feared for their resilience. Their ability to adapt, survive, and even thrive in environments that would kill most other species had earned them a reputation that preceded them. However, this reputation came with skepticism, especially in the structured environment of the Galactic Academy, where discipline and precision were prized above all else. The announcement of the Academy's annual survival drill brought a palpable buzz to the sprawling station. It was an event that tested not only the students' theoretical knowledge but also their ability to act under simulated life or death conditions. The stakes were high, not because anyone was in actual danger, but because performance during the drill heavily influenced future assignments and career opportunities. For many species, this was the ultimate measure of capability. The preparation began weeks in advance. Alien students of various species pored over complex manuals and practiced intricate evacuation routes. The Pordalians, with their 6 dexterous limbs, excelled at manipulating control panels. The aquatic Valerians demonstrated an uncanny ability to navigate zero-gravity environments, their translucent fins propelling them gracefully through the air. The towering Droval, whose sheer physical strength made them ideal for clearing debris, proudly flexed their muscles during training sessions. In stark contrast, the human students approached the drill with an air of casual indifference. Of the Academy's 5,000 students, only a dozen were human, and they were already seen as outliers. While their alien counterparts attended every training session, humans skipped most of them, preferring instead to explore the recreational facilities or catch up on sleep. This behavior baffled their peers, who couldn't understand why anyone would squander such an important opportunity. In one particular training session, Instructor Talvorn, a stern Xenexian with bioluminescent patterns on his skin, addressed the assembled students. His voice resonated through the hall, amplified by the Academy's acoustics. "The survival drill is not merely a test," Talvorn declared, his glowing eyes scanning the room. "It is a reflection of your commitment to the principles of unity, discipline, and readiness. Those who fail to take this seriously will find themselves ill-prepared for real emergencies." At the back of the hall, a small cluster of human students exchanged knowing glances. Among them was Lisa Carter, a former mechanic from Earth's lunar colonies, and Daniel Vega, a marine biologist who had joined the Academy to study extraterrestrial ecosystems. Both had been skeptical of the Academy's rigid approach since day one. "This is overkill," Lisa muttered under her breath. "They've got a manual for everything. What are we supposed to do, read our way out of an emergency?" Daniel smirked. "Relax, Lisa. If things go south, we'll just do what we always do, improvise." Their casual attitude did not go unnoticed. Talvorn's gaze lingered on the humans for a moment, his bioluminescent patterns flickering in a display of irritation. "Perhaps our human students would care to demonstrate their understanding of the drill procedures," he said, his tone sharp. Lisa and Daniel exchanged sheepish looks as the rest of the students turned to stare. "Pass," Lisa said with a grin, leaning back in her chair. "We'll save the heroics for the real thing." The room erupted in murmurs, a mix of laughter and indignation. Talvorn's patterns flared bright orange, a sign of frustration in Xenexian culture. "Such complacency will not serve you well in the field," he snapped. "Your confidence is misplaced." Despite the reprimand, the humans remained unfazed. To them, the drill seemed unnecessarily convoluted. They couldn't understand why the Academy relied so heavily on protocol when real emergencies were often unpredictable. "Life doesn't follow a script," Daniel had said during one of their private conversations. "If you stick too closely to a manual, You're doomed the moment something unexpected happens. As the day of the drill approached, the tension among the alien students became almost palpable. In the dormitories, students stayed up late reviewing diagrams and running simulations. The corridors buzzed with conversations about potential scenarios and strategies. Meanwhile, the human dormitory remained eerily quiet. Lisa, Daniel, and their peers spent the evening playing cards and laughing about the absurdity of some of the drill's more elaborate protocols. The morning of the drill dawned with an announcement broadcast throughout the station. Attention, students. The survival drill will commence in 1 hour. Please report to your designated sectors and prepare to execute your assigned roles. In Sector 17, where the humans were stationed, the mood was unusually relaxed. While their alien peers double-checked their equipment and reviewed their plans, the humans decided to take a nap. "Wake us up if anything interesting happens," Lisa joked as she stretched out on a bench. Their behavior infuriated Ralvek, a Treltsian student whose species was known for their meticulous nature. "Do you not understand the importance of this drill?" he demanded, his voice tinged with disbelief. "Your lack of preparation endangers not only yourselves but everyone around you." Daniel waved a hand dismissively. "Relax, Ralvek. We've got this." The drill began with a simulated power outage, plunging the station into darkness. Emergency lights flickered on, casting an eerie red glow over the corridors. Alarms blared, and a pre-recorded message played over the intercom warning catastrophic system failure detected. "All personnel, proceed to designated safe zones." Alien students sprang into action, following the procedures they had practiced for weeks. In Sector 17, Ralvek and his group hurried to the control room to stabilize the reactor simulation. Meanwhile, the humans remained undisturbed, their snores barely audible over the cacophony. As the drill progressed, Talvorn and the other instructors monitored the students' performance from a central command hub. The humans' lack of participation did not go unnoticed. Sector 17 reports zero activity from the human contingent. An assistant informed Talvorn, who shook his head in exasperation. "This will be a valuable lesson for them," Talvorn said grimly. "Perhaps failure will teach them the importance of preparation." Unbeknownst to the instructors, however, the humans were far from oblivious. Despite their outward nonchalance, they had been paying close attention to the drill's setup. Lisa had even hacked into the station's network to access the drill's parameters. "It's all theater," she had said. "They're so focused on sticking to the script that they're not thinking critically." As the first phase of the drill came to an end, the humans stirred from their nap, stretching and yawning, as if they had simply slept through an ordinary day. "Looks like they're almost done," Daniel said, glancing at the timer on his communicator. "Let's see how this plays out." Little did they know, the real test was about to begin. The results of the initial phase of the survival drill spread rapidly through the Galactic Academy. Across the station, students buzzed with excitement and pride as they compared notes, discussed challenges, and praised the efficiency of their respective teams. The alien students had performed admirably, completing their tasks with precision and adhering strictly to the protocols laid out in the survival manual. For them, the drill was a chance to demonstrate their skills and reinforce the importance of preparation in the face of potential disasters. In stark contrast, the human contingent had remained entirely uninvolved. This was not surprising to those who had witnessed their casual attitude during the lead-up to the drill, but it was nevertheless infuriating to their alien peers. As the alien students regrouped in their designated sections for a debriefing, murmurs of disdain toward the humans began to ripple through the crowd. Ralvek, the meticulous Treltsian, was among the most vocal in his criticism. His sleek, fur-covered frame bristled with irritation as he recounted his frustrations to a group of Droval students in the mess hall. "It's unacceptable," he declared, his elongated fingers drumming rhythmically against the metal table. "While we were executing every protocol flawlessly, they were asleep. Literally asleep." The Droval, a species known for their stoic demeanor and preference for action over words, nodded solemnly. One of them, a burly student named Vornak, grunted in agreement. "Humans are an anomaly. They talk about adaptability and survival, yet they refuse to take drills like this seriously. It's an insult to the academy and its purpose. Nearby, a group of Pordalian students whispered among themselves, their 6 limbs gesturing animatedly. One of them, a young female named Severa, tilted her head in disbelief. How do they expect to contribute to galactic progress if they can't even participate in a simple drill? Their arrogance is staggering. The disdain for humans extended beyond the student body. Instructors like Talvorn had been closely monitoring the drill from the central command hub and were equally unimpressed. Talvorn, whose bioluminescent skin patterns reflected his emotions like a living canvas, glowed a muted blue, a sign of controlled frustration. He turned to his fellow instructors, his voice steady but sharp. The human contingent has failed this drill in every conceivable way. Their lack of participation jeopardized not only their own safety but also the efficiency of their sector. This cannot go unaddressed. Instructor Yalvix, a spindly, insectoid being from the distant Zakarni system, clicked her mandibles thoughtfully. Perhaps we underestimated their reliance on instinct over structure. It's possible they don't value preparation the way we do. But that doesn't excuse their behavior. Talvorn nodded. It doesn't. I will ensure that this failure is recorded in their academic profiles. If humanity is to have a place in the Galactic Academy, they must adapt to our standards, not the other way around. Meanwhile, the humans were entirely unfazed by the criticism swirling around them. Gathered in their shared dormitory, they lounged comfortably, exchanging jokes and stories as if the drill had been nothing more than a minor inconvenience. Lisa, sitting cross-legged on her bunk, twirled a wrench idly in her hands. "So, how many alien death glares did you guys get today?" she asked, smirking. Daniel leaned back against the wall, his arms crossed behind his head. "Lost count after the first 100. I think Ralvek might actually explode if we keep this up." The group burst into laughter, their camaraderie unshaken by the animosity directed toward them. To the humans, the drill had been little more than a performance, an elaborate exercise that prioritized procedure over practicality. They didn't see the point in stressing over something that, in their view, was unlikely to reflect the unpredictability of real emergencies. "Let them talk," said Sarah, another human student who had previously served as a rescue worker on Earth. Her tone was calm but firm. "When the real thing happens, we'll see who's actually ready." Their casual attitude only further alienated their peers. Over the next few days, tensions between the humans and the rest of the student body reached new heights. Alien students openly avoided the humans, their disdain manifesting in everything from subtle snubs to outright confrontations. One such confrontation occurred in the training hall, where a group of students was practicing zero-gravity maneuvers. Ralvek, still seething from the humans' perceived failure, couldn't resist making a pointed remark as Lisa and Daniel entered the room. "Ah, the Academy's resident slackers," he said loudly, his voice dripping with sarcasm. "Come to grace us with your presence? Or are you planning to sleep through this session too?" Lisa raised an eyebrow, her expression unimpressed. "Nice to see you too, Ralvek," she replied coolly. "Don't worry, we're not here to steal your thunder." Ralvek's fur bristled as he stepped closer, his frustration boiling over. "You think this is a joke, don't you? While the rest of us are working to ensure the safety of this station, you're treating it like some kind of game. Your arrogance will get people killed one day." Daniel stepped forward, his demeanor calm but firm. "Relax, Ralvek. We're not here to start a fight. If you've got a problem with how we handle things, take it up with the instructors." Ralvek's eyes narrowed. "Oh, I already have," he said sharply. "And believe me, they're just as disgusted with you as the rest of us." The tension in the room was palpable, but before the situation could escalate further, an announcement crackled over the intercom. "Attention, all students. Please report to your designated sections for a final debriefing on the survival drill. Attendance is mandatory." The students filed out of the training hall, the air between the humans and their alien peers heavy with unresolved animosity. In the debriefing room, Talvorn stood at the front, his bioluminescent patterns glowing in neutral green, a sign of professional detachment. He began the session with a detailed breakdown of each sector's performance, highlighting both successes and areas for improvement. When he reached Sector 17, where the humans had been stationed, his tone grew noticeably sharper. Sector 17 displayed the lowest level of engagement during the drill, he said, his glowing eyes fixed on the humans. While other sectors adhered to the protocols and completed their objectives, the human contingent contributed nothing. This is not only unacceptable but also a disservice to the principles of unity and preparedness that this academy stands for. The humans exchanged glances but said nothing, their expressions unreadable. Talvorn continued, his voice rising slightly. Let this be a lesson to all of you. In the face of disaster, complacency is not an option. Those who fail to prepare will inevitably fail when it matters most. The debriefing ended on a somber note, with the humans singled out as an example of what not to do. As the students dispersed, whispers of disapproval followed the humans like a shadow. For the alien students, the humans' behavior was not just frustrating, it was dangerous. Their disdain grew deeper with each passing day, cementing the divide between them. Yet, amid the growing animosity, the humans remained steadfast in their belief that their approach was justified. They saw the drill not as a failure, but as a flawed exercise that prioritized rigid adherence to rules over adaptability and critical thinking. Little did they know, their instincts would soon be put to the ultimate test. The Galactic Academy was enveloped in a quiet hum of activity. The survival drill had officially concluded, and while the alien students busied themselves with post-drill evaluations and feedback sessions, the humans had returned to their usual laid-back routine. Their confidence in their instincts, while unshaken, had further alienated them from the rest of the academy. Unbeknownst to everyone, however, the quiet hum would soon transform into the chaos of a real, unanticipated catastrophe. The trouble began in the Academy's central reactor core, a vast, cylindrical chamber that powered the entire station. Maintained by an intricate web of automated systems, the core was designed to be virtually fail-proof. Yet, as engineers performed routine diagnostics, a sudden spike in energy readings triggered an alarm. At first, the spike appeared to be a minor anomaly, the kind that was quickly resolved by recalibrating the system. But as the minutes ticked by, the readings grew more erratic, and the automated safety protocols began to malfunction. In the control room overlooking the reactor core, a team of Droval engineers worked frantically to contain the problem. Their deep voices rumbled in tense conversation as they examined the glowing holographic displays projected before them. The coolant systems are failing, one of them growled, his large, clawed hands flying over the controls. If we can't stabilize the core, we're looking at a full-scale meltdown. The head engineer, a stoic Droval named Korak, activated the emergency communicator. His gravelly voice echoed through the station's corridors as he issued a stern announcement: attention all personnel. A critical malfunction has been detected in the reactor core. This is not a drill. All students and staff are to proceed to their designated safe zones immediately. The words reverberated like a shockwave, breaking the relative calm of the academy. For the alien students, who had been meticulously trained for scenarios like this, the announcement was both alarming and a call to action. Across the station, they sprang into motion, grabbing emergency kits and making their way to the safe zones in orderly formations. Their movements were precise, almost mechanical, as they executed the procedures drilled into them over weeks of practice. In contrast, the humans reacted with a mix of curiosity and skepticism. Lisa, Daniel, and their peers were lounging in their dormitory when the announcement came through. Lisa sat up, brushing a strand of hair out of her face. "Well, that's new," she said, her tone laced with mild amusement. "Think it's another overcomplicated drill?" Daniel checked the data feed on his communicator, his expression shifting from relaxed to serious. "Nope. This one's real," he said, standing up. "The reactor core is in trouble." The group exchanged glances, their casual demeanor giving way to a sharper focus. While they hadn't participated in the drills, they had been quietly observing the station's systems in operation since their arrival. Unlike their alien peers, who relied heavily on protocols, the humans had an intuitive understanding of how the station functioned. They knew its strengths, its weaknesses, and most importantly, its vulnerabilities. "We need to get to the reactor control room," Lisa said, grabbing her toolkit. "If the coolant systems are failing, they're going to need more than protocols to fix this." The humans moved quickly, navigating the station's labyrinthine corridors with practiced ease. Along the way, they passed groups of alien students heading to the safe zones. Many of the aliens stared at them in disbelief, unable to comprehend why the humans weren't following the evacuation procedures. "Where are you going?" Ralvik shouted as he spotted them near a junction. His fur bristled with panic, his usually composed demeanor unraveling. "The safe zones are the other way. We're going to help," Daniel replied without breaking stride. "Help? You don't even know the protocols." Ralvik snapped, his voice rising. "You'll just get in the way." Lisa turned to him, her expression calm but resolute. "We don't need protocols. We need solutions. You do what you were trained to do. We'll do what we're good at." Ralvik stared after them, torn between his instinct to follow orders and the unsettling realization that the humans might actually be onto something. Meanwhile, in the control room, the situation was deteriorating rapidly. The reactor core's temperature continued to climb, and the automated systems designed to regulate it were failing one by one. Korak and his team worked tirelessly, their clawed hands a blur as they attempted to manually override the failing systems. "We're running out of time," Korak growled, his voice tinged with frustration. "If we don't get the coolant systems back online, the core will breach." At that moment, the doors to the control room slid open, and the humans entered. Korak looked up, his glowing yellow eyes narrowing in surprise. "What are you doing here?" he demanded. "This area is restricted to authorized personnel." "Good thing we don't wait for authorization," Lisa said, stepping forward and surveying the chaotic scene. Her eyes quickly darted to the coolant system's control panel, which was flashing red with error messages. "What's the status?" "The coolant pumps have failed," Korak replied grudgingly. "We're trying to restart them, but the manual overrides aren't responding." Lisa nodded, already formulating a plan. She turned to Daniel and Sarah. "We'll need to bypass the main circuit. Sarah, see if you can reroute power from the auxiliary systems. Daniel, grab the spare coolant injectors from storage and prep them for manual installation." The humans moved with practiced efficiency, their actions unorthodox but effective. Lisa pulled a multi-tool from her belt and began dismantling the malfunctioning control panel. As she worked, she explained her reasoning to Korak. "Your system's designed to prevent unauthorized access, which is great in theory but terrible in an emergency. We're going to bypass the security protocols and establish a direct connection to the pumps." Korak watched her with a mixture of skepticism and reluctant admiration. "That's highly unconventional," he said. "It's also going to work," Lisa replied without missing a beat. Minutes turned into an eternity as the humans worked to stabilize the reactor core. Sweat dripped down their faces as they manually installed the spare coolant injectors and rerouted power to the failing systems. The control room was a flurry of activity, with alien engineers and human improvisers working side by side for the first time. Finally, with a loud hiss and a rush of cold air, the coolant system roared back to life. The reactor core's temperature began to drop, and the alarms subsided one by one. A tense silence filled the room as everyone waited to see if their efforts had been enough. When the reactor core stabilized, a collective sigh of relief swept through the control room. Korak turned to Lisa, his stoic expression softening. "You saved the station," he said simply. "I underestimated you." Lisa shrugged, a small smile playing on her lips. "Don't worry about it. We get that a lot." As news of the humans' actions spread through the academy, The disdain that had once surrounded them began to give way to a grudging respect. While their methods had been unorthodox, their ability to think on their feet and adapt to the unexpected had proven invaluable. The real catastrophe had tested everyone's limits, but it was the humans' instinct and ingenuity that had ultimately saved the day. The Galactic Academy remained in a state of subdued recovery as the reality of what had just transpired settled over its sprawling halls. The reactor core, the heart of the station, was stable again, and thanks to the humans' swift actions, a catastrophic meltdown had been averted. The students and staff who had evacuated to the designated safe zones were slowly returning to their usual routines, their conversations a mixture of relief and disbelief. In the aftermath, the humans had returned to their dormitory, brushing off the awe-struck glances of their alien peers as though saving the station had been just another day's work. Lisa sat cross-legged on her bunk, tinkering with her multi-tool, while Daniel leaned against the wall, flipping through the station's engineering schematics on his tablet. "You'd think they'd thank us or something," Lisa muttered, her tone light but edged with a hint of irritation. "Instead, they just keep staring at us like we've grown a second head." Daniel chuckled. "Give them time. They're probably trying to figure out how a bunch of lazy humans pulled that off." The door to the dormitory slid open, and Sarah entered, carrying a tray of nutrient packs. "I just passed Ralvek in the hall," she said, setting the tray down on the central table. He actually nodded at me. Not a death glare. Not a snarky comment, an actual nod. "I think we broke him." The group laughed, the tension from the reactor incident finally beginning to dissipate. But beneath their casual banter, they all felt the weight of what had just happened. The station had come terrifyingly close to disaster, and while they had managed to avert it, they knew the situation could have easily gone the other way. Their reflections were interrupted by a sudden chime from the intercom. "Human students of Sector 17, report to the Central Command Hub immediately. This is a mandatory summons." Lisa sighed, setting her multi-tool aside. "Looks like the brass wants a word. Let's hope it's not another lecture on why we're the worst students ever." The humans made their way to the command hub, navigating the now bustling corridors of the station. Alien students and staff stepped aside as they passed, their expressions a mixture of curiosity, respect, and lingering wariness. When they arrived at the hub, they were greeted by Instructor Talvorn and several other senior staff members, including Korak, the head engineer. Talvorn's bioluminescent patterns glowed a steady green, a sign of neutrality. His expression was unreadable as he gestured for the humans to step forward. "First, let me begin by stating that your actions today were unexpected," he said, his voice measured. "You disobeyed evacuation protocols, disregarded the chain of command, and bypassed critical security systems without authorization." Lisa opened her mouth to respond, but Talvorn held up a hand to silence her. "That being said," he continued, his tone softening slightly, "it is undeniable that your actions saved this station and everyone aboard it. Without your improvisation and quick thinking, the reactor core would have breached, resulting in catastrophic loss of life." Korak stepped forward, his massive frame towering over the humans. "I owe you my thanks," he said gruffly, his yellow eyes meeting Lisa's. "You saw solutions where the rest of us saw only obstacles. Your methods may have been unconventional, but they were effective." Lisa nodded, her expression a mixture of gratitude and defiance. "We weren't trying to break the rules," she said. "We just didn't have time to follow them. Sometimes you have to act first and explain later." Talvorn's patterns flickered briefly, indicating a mix of emotions. "While I cannot condone your disregard for protocol, I also cannot ignore the results. You have demonstrated an adaptability and resourcefulness that is unique to your species. It is a reminder that there is more than one way to approach a problem." The humans exchanged glances, surprised by the unexpected acknowledgement. Talvorn stepped back, allowing another instructor, a tall, insectoid being with glittering, multifaceted eyes, to address the group. "In light of today's events," the instructor said, "we will be reviewing the Academy's training programs to incorporate lessons on flexibility and critical thinking. Your actions have highlighted gaps in our current approach, and we intend to address them. The announcement sent a ripple of surprise through the humans. For all their frustrations with the Academy's rigid structure, they had never imagined their actions would lead to actual change. Lisa raised an eyebrow, leaning slightly toward Daniel. "Did we just rewrite the playbook?" she whispered. "Looks like it," Daniel replied, a small grin tugging at his lips. The humans were dismissed with a mixture of gratitude and caution. Their status within the Academy irrevocably changed. As they left the command hub, the gravity of what they had accomplished began to sink in. For the first time since their arrival, they felt a sense of belonging not because they had conformed to the Academy's standards, but because they had proven the value of their unique perspective. Over the next few days, the mood at the Academy shifted noticeably. The alien students, who had once dismissed the humans as reckless and lazy, now regarded them with newfound respect. Ralvek, the ever-critical Trelchian, even approached Lisa in the mess hall, his fur smoothed in a gesture of contrition. "I misjudged you," he admitted, his voice uncharacteristically soft. "Your methods are unconventional, but they work. Perhaps we have something to learn from each other." Lisa smiled, offering a handshake, a gesture that Ralvek hesitated over before mimicking awkwardly. "Truce?" she said. "Truce," Ralvek replied. The humans continued to navigate the delicate balance of integration and independence, their actions serving as a catalyst for broader changes within the Academy. The training programs were updated to include modules on adaptability and improvisation, and the humans were invited to lead workshops on practical problem-solving. While not everyone embraced these changes immediately, the seeds of a more collaborative future had been planted. In their dormitory one evening, Lisa, Daniel, and Sarah reflected on the journey that had brought them to this point. "Do you think they'll ever fully get us?" Sarah asked, her gaze distant. "Probably not," Lisa replied, her tone light but thoughtful. "But that's okay. We're not here to be like them. We're here to show them that there's more than one way to survive." Daniel nodded, raising a glass of the station's questionable nutrient drink in a mock toast. "To survival," he said. "To shaking things up," Lisa added, clinking her glass against his. The humans had come to the Galactic Academy as outsiders, their methods and mindset clashing with the established norms of their alien peers. But through their actions, they had not only proven their worth, but also challenged the Academy to evolve. In doing so, they had carved out a place for themselves not as mere participants in the Academy's grand experiment, but as indispensable contributors to its future. And as the stars outside the station continued to shimmer with infinite possibilities, the humans knew that their journey was just beginning.